So there I was, moving into my first apartment post-college. I graduated from Geneva last December, a semester earlier than the rest of the people in my class due to some early college credits I had from high school. I was offered a part-time position in the athletic department here, and I took it in the hopes that it would lead to a full-time job offer in the summer. The college allowed me to rent an apartment from them in Schoolhouse, so that's where I moved into following Christmas break of 2023. It was very strange living by myself since I'd been living with my best friends for the last 4 years, and before that I lived in a home with my 6 younger siblings where it was always very noisy and there was always someone to talk to. For an extrovert like me, living by myself was really difficult, and I did not enjoy it. However, I kept Paul's words to the Philippians in mind during my first few months living there. Paul says in Philippians 4:11 through 12, "Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need." I didn't have a lot at the time. I had college debt, barely any belongings, and 2 part-time jobs. But in that time of my life, God showed me the things I had in my life that I could be grateful for, some things that a lot of people are in want of. My apartment, a really good group of Christian friends who would encourage me, my fiance, and work that I enjoyed. It was a goal of mine to thank God every day for the things that He had blessed me with so that I, like Paul, hopefully might one day learn to be content in whatever situation that I was in. In April, one of those things that I had thanked the Lord for a lot was removed from my life. After dealing with several issues that we had been facing over the course of our relationship, my fiance and I, who had been together for the previous 3 years, broke up. I was left with a feeling of purposelessness and despair. All the plans that I had made for my post-college life had fallen through, and I was heartbroken and angry at a lot of people for a lot of different things. I had never dealt with any major mental health problems in my life to that point, but the breakup changed that. I became extremely depressed, and there was one horrible week in April where I considered suicide every night on the way home from a week-long commitment that I had had. I would think about those same words from Paul that had inspired me at the beginning of the year and think, like, really content in every situation? Like how am I supposed to be content in this situation, you know? I questioned every decision that I had made for the last 3 years, and my mind was constantly swirling with feelings of sadness and anger and inadequacy. I went home to see my family for about 6 weeks over the summer, a time that I had determined to use to think through everything that was going on in my life. And during that time, the Lord brought me comfort, and He showed me that despite the trial I was going through, I had so many other things to be thankful for, to be grateful for. Good friends, a loving family that was so happy to have me home for that short time. And over the summer, I also got that full-time job offer from Geneva, so I was grateful for that. I had a moment that spring, a moment that I've only experienced something else like it like once in my life. While I was on a walk by myself back home, I was crying like a baby, asking God why He had directed my life the way that He had. And in that moment, like in between the tears, while I was out there, I felt Him right there next to me. I couldn't see Him, I couldn't hear Him, but you know when you're in a room with somebody and they might not be making any noise or anything, but you can sense their presence when they're in the room with you, and that's what it felt like. And it was such a comfort. Even while I was lost in my own thoughts and feelings of sadness, the Lord was right there beside me, directing my paths. Proverbs 16:9 says, "The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps." And our hearts are crazy things, I'll tell you that much. I had set my heart on one plan, but it was not in the Lord's will. I had planned things on my terms, but after months of reflection, I can now see that the Lord's hand was working in my life in other ways. My breakup had been awful when it happened, and it was miserable to go through. But in God's infinite wisdom, He knew that marriage was not the right decision for my fiance and I at the time. And in hindsight, I can see that too, very clearly. I don't have a well-wrapped-up conclusion for this testimony. All the things that happened in my life this past winter and spring left me with a lot of dark feelings, feeling very depressed, and I'm still dealing with the repercussions of all of that. But that's the really beautiful thing about God, I think, is that even when we're feeling down and even when our thoughts are not on Him, He is still working in our lives, even while we're not actively paying attention sometimes. Jeremiah 29:11, famous verse, says this, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." I don't know what the Lord's plans are for my life, but He does, and that's the important thing. You don't have to have everything fully worked out to see the Lord's hand in your life. He is working, mending our brokenness day by day, and we can trust that He knows His plans for us, even if we don't. And I think that knowledge, the knowledge that His work in us is ongoing, but for our own welfare, is how we can learn to be content, like Paul, in every situation we're in. Thank you.